guys. Hey guys, welcome to Livestream. If you want to speak to me, then you speak to me through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12. So just send me a request. Send me a request, or sorry, I'm getting distracted looking at all the other things. Yeah, and you can either ask a question, write a question, or you can call in. I can't guarantee that I will speak to all of you or answer all your questions, because there's so many questions that can come through. If you want to come to an event, the next event I have starts on the 4th of November, which is in a couple of weeks, and that is a 10-day or 7-day retreat in Canal, Spain. And you're very welcome to still sign up. It's a really beautiful venue. You can go onto my website and see it, there should be an eye on this video, and you can click on that eye and that will give you information, and you can go to that. If you'd like to sponsor someone to go on the retreat, if you don't want to go but you have to sponsor someone, there's lots of people that want to go but want to be sponsored. Oops. Got to put my microphone on. Might need that. There we go. And just be aware, I should be away for 3 weeks, and I won't be broadcasting, so just be aware to look on my website for the broadcast. So I think for the first 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks of November I won't be broadcasting. So I think Sunday is my last one for a couple of weeks. So the absolute freedom is hearing that who you are isn't limited. Who you are isn't this person that you believe yourself to be. Whether you believe yourself to be a good person or a bad person, or a beautiful or ugly person, or right person or wrong person, a tall person, a white person, a black person. The true freedom is remembering that you aren't limited to anything. Any name, any word, any feeling, any sensation. All of that comes and goes, but there's something that doesn't come and go. And this is who you truly are. That's what's experiencing now. In our minds, we form this idea that we're somebody in time experiencing this world. And we have all these stories about who we are experiencing ourselves in time. And we get completely identified with that person. And as we get more and more identified with that person, it feels more and more uncomfortable being that person, because you put yourself in smaller and smaller boxes, and who you are at your essence cannot be caged and cannot be defined. But as you go through life, and as you grow, and as your brain gets bigger and your memory gets bigger, you put more and more ideas on who you are. And this feels uncomfortable. And as this discomfort forms in the body, you seek to find refuge from that discomfort. So you seek in what the only place you know, in time and in things, to find refuge from feeling uncomfortable. So you look to the future to try to find that moment of not feeling uncomfortable, when it's never going to be found in the future. It will only ever be found in what you already are. But the mind can't comprehend that. The mind thinks in future, past, right and wrong, good and bad. Basically, the mind can only think in time. So it can only think at arriving somewhere. And this dynamic grows. The mind is a problem solver, so it begins to realize it feels uncomfortable and it wants to solve that problem, and it keeps looking in time. When I buy the new house, when I have kids, when I get enough money, when I lose weight, when I become a man, when I become a woman, when I find a lover, when I find the perfect lover, when I stop being ill, when I, etc. It goes on forever. When I get a new car, when I get this, when I get that, I will then arrive and be able to relax. Then it turns on to spirituality, and you begin to think, when I'm unconditioned, when I have no me, when I'm not someone, when I have no conditioning, when I do not feel emotions anymore. And all of this is about you arriving in time, that you're going to get there. But who is going to get there? Who's going to arrive at this destination that you so badly dream of? Who is this person that believes it's in relationship to everything? And this is the lie, that you are that person. Who you are is a live presence with thoughts and ideas and feelings and emotions and sensations arising and disappearing in that. And this energy is claiming, that is who I am. I am a person. I am somebody that was born. I'm somebody that walks through life. I'm somebody that's this or that, or on it goes. But you're not anything. Right here, right now, you're absolute, innocent, vulnerable presence. When I say vulnerable, I don't mean that presence is vulnerable, but this nakedness, presence, this alive presence, which isn't anything, and yet is everything. And this is the absolute freedom. It's got nothing to do with concepts. In fact, you can even forget all the concepts that I've said when they've done their job, or when you've begun to see what's not true. But it's really not about you coming to a new conceptual realization about anything. And even what other teachers say isn't true. There's nothing that's true in words. What is true is this presence. And it's so alive and so beautiful. This. And this isn't about saving you on the character level. You know, nobody can do that on the character level. Nobody can save you. People can suggest ideas and they can present stuff. And then there can either be a resonance with that on the character level. So say on the character level, you know, you've been traumatized, or you need therapy or or whatever it is, or you do emotional release. Nobody can actually save or know what the best thing is for you. But you can engage in it, and if it resonates with you, then you do it. But you're never going to be saved by someone. And you're always going to have all your frailties and your conditioning and your vulnerabilities and your strengths. That's part of being human. This process isn't about escaping that. This process is about totally embracing what you are on the human level. And at the same time, there can be a healing in that, because sometimes the human level needs to be healed to an extent. It's got itself into a lot of negative thinking or a lot of negative patterns. But nobody can save you. No one's going to make you totally unconditioned and totally free on the human level. The humans, they're meant to be all these different things that they are, all the different particular conditions of liking things and not liking things, and feeling sad or happy about something, or having particular conditioning. Often I find that people believe they're going to get to a stage of no conditioning, and that's not the case. You're never going to get to that stage of no conditioning, and your desire and hope for it is a false illusion. It goes along with that idea of arrival, that one day you're going to arrive. You are never going to arrive, because who are you? You are what you are in this moment, and if that's vulnerability and heartache, that's what it is. If it's joy and bliss, that's what it is. If it's stomachache and giggles, that's what it is. You're not going to arrive on that level. And that waiting for it is the illusion that you will get there. Your home is here. Your home is in what's happening, always in what's happening. This is your freedom. This is the peace. And when there is a collapsing back into what's happening, there's a seeing that there was nobody here that was ever experiencing anything. There was nobody that suffered and nobody that was hurt. There seemed to be a character that was, but that's not the experience. So that is an experience happening. And don't even make the end of you a goal. This is such a trick as well. I really dislike it when people ask me if there's still a me left inside. Is there still a person left inside? Because what you're pointing to is what the part that's been forgotten, that there is nobody, but there is a character that comes and goes. Matisse. Hi, Paul. Hi, Open. Hi, Hun. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Deanna. Hi, Andreas. So if anyone would like to call in and ask a question, now is the time. Except Khaleesi's just about to bark. Hello, Sweetie. How did you enjoy that? Sure, Alina. You want to call in? Alina. Or you want to just write the question? Great call, Andreas. Yep, you can call. Hey, Andreas.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, yeah. No, you can take your time. You don't have to hurry.
The set seems to be a bit... I talk and then it takes some time before the audio...
Yeah, you most probably have to turn the volume off.
Audio comes.
You have to turn the volume off YouTube. I'm speaking to you through Skype.
So.
You can hear me? So you turn off YouTube and then speak to me through Skype. No?
But no, I don't hear anything, I think.
Maybe you need to check out your Skype first. So I'll just move on to another question while you work out your Skype.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, so basically I speak to you through Skype and you see me through Skype and you have to turn the volume off of Livestream, of Livestream. So when you've worked that out, then call me back.
All right.
Okay, bye. Okay, so this is from Alina. Hello Lisa, I want to ask you about death. Sure. Just a person. You speak to the doctor about your cuts, you speak to the therapist about your problems, and you speak to me about death. I'm the expert on death. What death of the ego? What was happening? See you, Ramana, and other masters when they discover the self. What was for you your death? Well, who is it that's alive now? Who is it that you believe is alive and having an experience? This is the question. Most people believe who they are is a thought, a story about themselves in time. That they are a good person or a right person or a happy person. And that they walked into this room and sat down on the chair and they're listening to me on Livestream. But who is that? Who's listening now? Can something that comes and goes, that story of you, be someone that actually listens? Or is there something prior to that listening? And who is it that's listening? This idea of you appears and disappears in what? So the death that they speak of, although I can't guarantee what they speak of, they might just be raving lunatics and I might be the only sane teacher there is. That's a joke. But I really don't know what they're talking about. I can't guarantee what someone else is speaking about. But for me, the death was, if that's how you want to say it, although it sounds very dramatic and romantic in a way, the death of the person. It was this energetic movement from being that person to being this alive presence. And it felt, to me, it felt like an energetic movement. It felt like when I was the person, I was in a cage and I was limited. And then there was this movement that happened that was that moved into or stepped into this limitlessness that wasn't a thing and was everything and was still but moving at the same time. And the person still arose and disappeared in that. The character still came and went, but that character was no longer the experiencer. The character relaxed and the character changed, but that wasn't the point. The character's not enlightened and not perfect, because who could be enlightened? Who's the one that gets enlightened? There's nobody here having an experience, so how can someone become enlightened? That's a really beautiful question. Thanks for the question. I enjoyed answering that. Hey, Matisse.
Hello.
Hey.
Is the sound?
Hello?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you really well, thanks.
Okay, yeah. I had a different mic, so...
No, it's really clear, it's really good.
Okay.
How are you doing? Nice to speak to you again.
Yeah, same.
Is it super loud, my dog eating her bone?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay.
I kind of forgot my question.
That's okay, you can take your time.
Yeah, nothing is coming up right now.
That's okay. Is there anything you want to work on? that you've been getting stuck on?
Yeah, maybe like my heart chakra is kind of I'm still working a lot on that.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel a lot of pain there right now?
No, not pain. I just feel like it's locked.
Yeah, yeah.
Blocked or locked.
Yeah. It's more than likely because there's some sort of negative thoughts that are happening around love in your system.
Yeah, I think so. But the thoughts are not like on the surface. I don't really
Yeah.
have a conscious access to them, if that makes sense.
You do actually, it's just you're not aware of them. You have access to them all the time. Like all your actions are trying to make you aware of it. It's basically the reason that all these feelings form. It's not that we're designed to have emotions and feelings. So if we're not treated well, we're designed to have a feeling in the body that removes us from that situation. But what begins to happen when we really tightly identify with someone, these feelings get stuck in our body and they're being activated all the time. So if you've got a feeling that you're not good enough in relationship to other people, what can happen is there's an identification with that and you're replaying that story, always walking around not feeling good enough. And so that area is always uncomfortable and locked. And you can notice it, but I think I'm just going to put my dog out because I know you didn't say you could hear it, but I think it's really loud. One moment.
Sure.
Good girl. Good girl. Honey, go outside. So when you're interacting with people, there's always signals that are going on about what you think about yourself. So it becomes more and more obvious, like when you pay attention to your body and you're interacting with another person as to what you're thinking about yourself. Like, what do you feel right now when you're interacting with me? Are you conscious of that?
What?
Are you conscious of how you feel interacting with me?
No, it feels like it's like some like unconscious things. I don't know.
What does
I can't access consciously.
What does your body feel like?
Right now it feels kind of tense a bit.
Yeah.
Which is paradoxical, because sometimes I say my body feels tense, but it's like it feels like it's just because I'm conscious of it or something, I don't know. Or that it tenses up because of some reason, I don't know.
And what are your thoughts? What sort of thoughts are you having?
I can't really access them. It feels, or I cannot really be conscious of them. Right now, it's like during no interaction or certain other interactions, I can access my thoughts, but like sometimes it feels like I cannot really even access them, or like I just draw a blank.
Yeah.
Or it feels like that at least.
Yeah, that's okay.
Mm.
Do you feel like you're representing yourself in a good way at this moment? Do you like the way you're representing yourself?
Not really.
Okay, so that's a feeling.
Yeah, true.
So where do you feel that you're not really liking the way you represent yourself?
In the stomach.
Yeah. What does it feel like in your stomach?
It feels like kind of like people are judging me, like being judged.
You're being judged, yeah.
Yeah.
And in what way does it affect you if people are judging you?
It creates a lot of negative emotions.
In you?
In me, yes.
Yeah. But on the external it doesn't hurt, but in the internal it hurts you.
Yes, exactly.
To feel judged.
Yes.
You see, what happens is that we have a brain that thinks. It's the most amazing instrument there is. And it's developed so quickly over the last 1,000 years, our brain and our thinking. In the last 100 years, it's amazing how much it's developed.
Yeah.
But what's also happened is we're identified with our thinking. And our brain, the way that our brain evolves is it's always about solving problems. And it's always about fixing things. And it kind of, because we think all these ideas that aren't true, that we are someone, that we exist in time, we think we've created all these thoughts that aren't necessarily true. They've got relevance for us to communicate, but they're not actually true. Our thinking goes a bit haywire. So you can perceive as an animal that when you go into a situation, a social situation, that there's a ranking of that social situation, just like dogs. There'll be the alpha, there'll be the second in charge, there will be positions for everyone. And you're also aware that when you go into that situation that you're either going to be liked or disliked, or you're going to be accepted by the group or not accepted by the group. And this is part of being human. This is what happens. The problem is when it becomes a hindrance is rather than just experiencing that face on for what it is in that moment, feeling the fear in that moment or experiencing those sensations in the moment, we worry a lot about it and we think a lot about it. We think about how to present ourselves and how to be somebody and how to be lovable and how to be likable. And this has started at such a young age that we've started trying to present this person that fits into all different situations and is liked and accepted in all different situations. And most of the time the reasons underneath that is firstly fearing that we're going to be not loved if we're not accepted. And then the second is we're going to be kicked out in some sort of way. So this fear that society will kick us out, that we won't belong. And so we have these complicated feelings, but we're not even aware of those complicated feelings. What we're aware of in the surface is what's happening in the moment. So me talking to you or me looking at you or what I look like or what I'm saying. And we're not aware of all these unconscious feelings that are going on inside our body. And as we begin to get into the spiritual path, we begin to become more and more aware of what's happening underneath. Most people walk around their whole life and they don't even realize they're insecure. They just feel a big tension in their body and they're always seeking to fit in and to get validation. And so what you're doing is you're exposing feelings and thoughts that have been going on unconsciously, and they're uncomfortable when they begin to come up and they're confusing. You don't understand it.
Yeah, true.
But it begins to become more obvious. And what will begin to happen is you'll begin to find your more authentic way. Like the way that you are, rather than the way that's constructed for everybody to see and love and appreciate. And the way that you find the more authentic you is not by learning the authentic you, it's by learning what's not true about you, the ideas that you've picked up that aren't true. And you see them for what they are. Like it's not true that anybody's judgment of you in this situation can affect you. That's not true.
Yeah.
People's judgments belong to them. And also, it's not true that they're necessarily judging you in a bad way. That's your assumption. People might be...
That's what I see.
Yeah. So it's actually you that's judging you, because people might be actually having a positive judgment of you and be grateful to you and be enjoying what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's also not true as well. That when you go into situation, you've already judged the situation, that they're going to be judging you not favourably. So can you see where you might have picked that up in the past? That you would be judged unfavourably? Can you relate it back to past experiences? Because sometimes when we can relate it back to past experiences, it just relaxes it. We understand it better. None of this is you. Who you are is that alive presence. But sometimes we need to go into the personality structure to relax it, to see that alive presence shining through.
Yeah, that's true. Whatever conscious thing I can go into. The latest I can go into, like, which is feeling judged spiritually by people, like, or being judged by people who are spiritual, saying the wrong things, or also like even not like in spiritual circles, like saying the wrong things.
Yeah. What about in childhood? Do you remember the first time you were judged, or the first time you felt that judgment from the external? Or yeah, when was that?
I don't remember how old I was. It was maybe like like 4th grade or something. Like when I felt more like, because before I wasn't really that self-observant before that, but when I more become self-observant, I become more aware of what other people thought of me.
Yeah. And what did you become aware of? What did you think they thought of you?
I don't know, that I was bad in some way, maybe, or like I didn't belong or something like that.
So that's really amazing that you've come to see that. So this idea that you're bad or that you don't belong is maybe something that comes up in your body often when you're interacting with people, and you actually take that to be true rather than seeing it as an old condition that's absolutely not true.
Yeah, it's like it feels like what I kind of focus in on.
Yeah, because it's absolutely not. It's not true that you don't belong or that you're bad in any way. And so I would give that some time to explore when you're by yourself, of like people and situations of when you felt that reflected at you, and begin to see that actually on the personality level you're... Sorry, the dog again. 1 second.
Yeah.
You're just as worthy as anyone else, and it's a mental structure that you've created that's telling you that you're not worthy, and that's your hindrance. The hindrance is, and that will hindrance you in life when you're in relationship or when you're doing work. It will demotivate you and make you feel exhausted, because you'll feel that you're not worth anything, or that you're bad in some way, or that you can't do it. And then this will keep affecting you in life, and then it's almost like life will reflect that back to you, because that's the energy that you're putting out there. And on the human level, what you have to begin to look at is seeing that that's really not true, and allowing that feeling to come up and pass without totally going into that story. So when you're in relationship with your friends, or when you're seeing people, see that that story's coming up about you and it's absolutely not true. So now think of a situation where you were good and you were you did fit in. Can you think of a situation?
Yeah.
And can you talk about it?
Yeah, well, yeah, then it was like kind of like more, instead of being like very aware of how people look at me, or inside of my head, or very reactive. I'm more like in the moment, more like as you say, more just expressing myself freely.
Yeah.
Like I don't, it doesn't really even register as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost like.
But can you think of a specific situation where you were good and you did fit in?
Yeah, well, yeah, the moments when I like kind of made myself to be more confident.
But I want you to think of a specific situation that you can remember.
Okay.
Where you felt you did something good and that you did fit in. Whenever in your life.
What did you say?
Whenever in your life, in childhood.
Yeah. Well, right now I can remember when, when I lived in a student corridor and meeting people there and talking. About what I was interested in and stuff like that. Or when I've been like at some student bar or some party, like that I felt more like people were approving of me than like people responded positively, and they were like, it was more the feeling than that they turned towards me than that they turned against me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can be more specific right now.
So in your imagination, if you held in your hands or you held one side, all those times that you felt like you did fit in and that you were good, and then all the times that you were bad and you felt like you didn't fit in, which one would you say was heavier? Which one do you experience more?
Yeah, the one where I didn't fit in.
So this is something you really need to work on, and this is something where you really need to register it's happening and see that it's absolutely not true, that it's a product of your mind and it's a habit, and that it's not true. the assumption that people don't like you or that you're not fitting in isn't truth. In fact, it's hindering you, so it's giving you that feeling. And it's then maybe making you shy where you can't connect with people. And at first it will be painful because you've just got to register it, but just register when it comes up and see that's not true, and register where the feeling is. Like, get to know your feelings in your body and see it's not true. And then I want you to imagine that you are empowered and that you... Oh. Oops. Oh. Hey. Oh, good.
I think it's my internet.
Oh, good. You called back. I was like...
video off.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. So I want you to then imagine that you are lovable and that you do fit in. So at first acknowledge that sensation's there. Just recognize it. Recognize the feeling. See that you're experiencing that. And then I want you to think that you do fit in and that you are loved and that people do love you and like you and that you do fit in. And at first you might find there's discomfort because there's a habit of the mind telling you you don't fit in. But then you might begin to see that it changes. And the whole time that you're doing all of this, there also needs to be the recognition that who you are is the presence, is that alive presence. And who they are is that too. And that all this surface stuff isn't as important as it seems. What's important is the remembering of who you are. But this habit is something that you're going to have to, in the apparent storyline, actively try to break. Because it's going to exhaust you and it's going to make you tired, and it's absolutely not true. It's a habit that you've picked up.
It kind of feels also like it makes me a bit schizophrenic, like I go in like these tips and bottoms, what do you say, like ups and downs.
This what, sorry?
In my ups and downs in my mood. So it's like, it becomes very confusing, or like not like stable way of being. You might find like some sort of like therapy helps that's about releasing a trauma that you might have had as a child in that area, or you might find some tools that they can suggest to you to help you break that pattern of thinking. The ultimate freedom, and no therapy is going to work unless you also listen to non-duality and see that the personality structure isn't you. When you just believe that's you, you're just going to stay in the circle of you, in the prison of you. But often we need to work on the prison while hearing non-duality too, otherwise the prison is so cluttered, there's no opportunity for that light of who you are to be really recognized and seen. Yeah, it's true. It's like a cloud of thoughts. I'm not always totally aware of the thoughts, even like
it's most probably a conditioned thing, and if you don't become aware of it, and you're so lucky that you're young, but if you don't become aware of it, then you'll keep putting in yourself in situations where life is reflecting that back to you. But you won't be conscious of it, but you'll just be attracted to that which you know. And it also might be in the current situation that you're in, also that some of the people in your life maybe aren't reflecting the most positive message back to you. And by becoming more conscious of it, then you can inform them and you can change that relationship. When it goes unconscious, you just keep doing it again and again and again. It sort of imprints in the brain, the neural pathways get set up that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's like almost automatic thoughts that go around in the head.
But the recognition of it is super important. The recognition of the thoughts, where the feeling is, and seeing that is not true. That is not true. And that you are this alive presence. And that any assumption that you have about your character isn't the reality, and that your character is just as valid and just as lovable as any other character.
It feels like sometimes I become so empty, so I have a harder time, a more difficult time to not like I feel like I've been more take in more of other people's judgments and stuff, because I'm not as aware of keeping being aware of what I am attracting and all that.
Yeah, totally. The more you become aware of it, the more that you'll step away and you'll put yourself in situations that feel good. Sometimes when we've got ourselves into a negative way of thinking, then we get addicted to putting ourselves into negative reflections of that. Like we find situations that reflect that back to us.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice. Oh, well, thanks for calling in and being so open to that and exploring.
Yeah, it's good. I hope that I will work on the things.
Yeah. And then carry on listening to Nonduality, because that's the ultimate freedom.
Yeah, that's the best cure for me, to be honest. It's like, I have like tried a lot of psychology and read about it, but
the psychology part,
the best is
Nonduality, that's the ultimate freedom, but the psychology part takes time, because the brain has been conditioned in a certain way, and it's not that you're ever going to be perfect. You're going to have the imprint of that particular character, but sometimes these things need to be worked on, otherwise the cloud becomes so heavy of you that other possibilities can't be seen.
That is true.
Nice. Oh, thanks. Nice to speak with you again, Matisse.
Yeah, same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So this is from Alina that was just speaking, but I am present. I see everything, but it's still identification from time to time. Thank you. Yeah, so it comes and it goes, it comes, it goes. That's it, that's the way it is. And see that presence is always there, and in a way, that coming and going doesn't mean anything. Life is as it is. And when the person hurts, then you can look at the conditioning, and when that passes, then there's just the remembering or the seeing that who you are is everything and nothing. I resonate with you so much. I wish I can come to one of your retreats, but I don't have the money at the moment. Oh, nice. The money will come when the money comes, and you will come when you come. Hi, Andreas. You managed to work it out?
I hope so.
Nice. Good.
Oh, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Great. Technical issues solved. So, I wanted to talk about. I wrote handling awakening.
Sorry.
I think I wrote in a handling awakening.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of there's always some awakening, and sometimes there's also a lot of delusion going on at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's always this there's no outside, no inside. There's no you, there's no me. That's always here.
Yeah.
And sometimes this is in some strange way seen through a me. The me sees that, and that's, I don't know, it's strange. And sometimes the me is not there, and this this emptiness, everythingness that just watches itself, what you said. I don't know. It's a bit confusion.
Yeah.
I think
What would you like right
what
now?
I would like.
Yeah, what would you like? Like, what do you want? Or what do you want from awakening?
I guess a bit of stuck on emptiness, you know. There's a, you know, craving for emptiness. Not in the emptiness, because there's no craving in that. But when the me arises, there can be this, you know, wanting things in the next moment, and then there comes very strong new thought. Oh, I don't want this wanting for the next moment. So it becomes some kind of ego, you know, contraction, that watching this, and it feels very frustrating in the moment.
So what is it that you would like to not experience anymore? If you could choose anything, like, what would you choose?
I think it's just that, because I don't know, there's no problem with, you know, feelings arising, and often it's not a problem. Even I think there can be feelings that's hard to handle, but in some way there feels like that is a container for much feelings that's arising. So what it is, this feeling, just feeling stuck sometimes, you know, just this ego stuff going on, and wanting things in the future, and then and not a special thing, just want the next moment to be, oh, this moment in some, I don't know why, it's not good enough. I want the next moment maybe a bit better. And then they come the other thought, well, it's this thought that's causing the suffering. I want that thought away, and that's also, you know, wanting for next moment. So
and what do you feel right now in your body?
There's a feeling relaxed mostly, and there's a bit of sadness, and that's some relationships issues that's a bit hard, but that's okay. It's okay. Sadness and relaxation. Some bit tension here. But
and what do you want me to see you as? If you had the choice to give an impression to me, what would that impression be?
I don't know. From
unconsciously you do. That's all we do as humans. Like, unconsciously we always know what we want the other to see us as.
Yeah.
But consciously we often don't know, because consciously on the conscious level we're aware of the thoughts or what we're saying or what the other looks like, but unconsciously the body knows what it wants me to see you as in this moment.
I don't know. In the body there is there's not much in the body, but I think there can be some. What I think about this, you know, the me want to be recognized as awake, if you understand, and I don't know, it can't, but it wants.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel
because it's totally okay to have wants and to want to be presented a certain way, that's okay. That's what we do as humans. Is we do want to be seen in a certain way, always, enlightened or not. We don't go around like doing disgusting things in front of a group of people. We have like a social instinct which makes us want to behave a certain way when we're in a social group. When it becomes stressful is when we identify with that, and we're always trying to get home that presence in it. And at the moment when I'm talking with you and when I look at your body language, there's like something that you want from me, and I don't know what it is. Like it might be this interaction, but there's something that you want here. And I know that if you can just understand what it is that you want, then you can just relax into that want, and there'll be a sense of freedom there.
So there is a sadness here, and as I say, and I think that is, I don't know if if it's from you I want this, because I think it has on with my relationship stuff. I want love, and
that's such a profound realization just right now. It's so relaxing. I want love. So where do you feel that in your body?
I feel it here
in your heart,
a little bit below the heart.
Oh yeah, in the solar plexus.
Yeah.
So just feel that feeling and relax into it. It's totally okay, that feeling. It's when we try to get out of it and we're trying to unconsciously escape from the feeling that we get all tangled.
Yeah.
And we sort of like try to get it and we're not sure, and we're unsure what we want. And so there is simply pain there, and you want love. And there might be, I'm not sure what the story is, but there might be a sadness that's happening there as well.
Yeah, this.
So you can just totally relax into that feeling and just give it space to be there, and see that in your actions, in your eating, in your conversation, in whatever you're doing, you're trying to fulfill that feeling there. You're trying to give that feeling there something, and all it needs is just to be allowed to be there, because as humans we feel things, and that's how it's going to be always. You're always going to feel things, and you don't need to run away from it. Your love is actually right here, right now. That is your love. Your lover is here. You are the lover. Your essence is the lover. And in the human form we have these feelings, these complicated feelings, and you don't have to get rid of it. It is totally welcome as it is.
Yeah, and I think it's. I can really feel the okayness, and also there is some resistance, there is some fear of it too.
Yeah.
And
what are you afraid of? Because I can see that fear coming out in the way that you're acting. Like your actions become quick, and then when you begin to sink into it, then you become a lot more relaxed. And what do you fear about the feeling?
I fear this body, or I, or whatever, it fears reaction.
That I'm going to do something mean to you or something.
I don't. Actually, I think I got a process with that. So I don't feel that against you, but it is in my body, because I have it's a very sensitive moment in my relation with an old an old girlfriend that we have been separated, and now maybe we're going to come together, maybe, and it feels very, very I don't know, threatening. And there is sadness, and there is want for love, and this fear of reaction, and all that stuff that pouring through the body. So I think that's what you're noticing. It's I feel very comfortable in this relationship, and I don't. But I think I notice that want, because there is a strong want.
And I notice that as soon as you acknowledge your feelings, your body relaxes slightly, and then as soon as you go into the storytelling about it, your body becomes tense again. Like, so then you go into the feeling, and then even though I'm sure the feeling is painful, there's a relaxation. It's like a relief, and then the story then agitates you again. And so after we've spoken, I would give yourself some space to feel that feeling, And then also see and remember a time where you're absolutely safe and you're absolutely lovable. And then also simultaneously bring in, when you begin to feel that the presence, that you are this alive presence. And just try to bring in that memory that you are safe, that no one can hurt you, and that you are loved. And you know that from the other part of your life. The reason I suggest bringing that in, so you don't get stuck in that feeling, but just allow the feeling to be there, bring in that other feeling and that other memory, and then also see that none of that is you. Who you are is that empty looking. And you don't need to escape anything, and what your mind says isn't true. Your mind is your mind, and you've given too much attention to that. Your body is so much more wiser. Just totally allow it to be there, and just see if your mind is having lots of thoughts, allow them to be there, and see that you are that I am in which they appear in. And then it comes and it goes. But I'll leave you with that now, that you can have some time alone to just sit with that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your honestness and openness.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Andreas.
Really nice.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Hi Miles, it's always better if you have a question or if you have something you would like to look at or explore, otherwise it just doesn't go anywhere. I just begin to learn from years and years of doing these talks. This is from Amber, and she was talking about when I spoke with Matti. She says, I'm grateful to him and not judging him at all. It's beautiful that he's sharing. Yeah, it is, Matisse. Yeah, thank you for that. So you're welcome to call again, Ludwig, if you still want to talk. Lisa, my vibration always goes low in the place where I live. Then I or something feels stuck. When I'm in a group with a high vibration, it goes higher, but it feels like the head is releasing to something. I don't know about this higher or lower vibration mentality. If it's your thing, then totally ignore what I say, because everyone's got to explore and find their own truth. It's not about adopting to somebody else's truth. But I'll just explain why I'm not so into the higher lower vibration thing. It's because I find it judgmental in an unnecessary way. And it's not only judgmental to the external, but it's judgmental to the internal. Like you're constantly judging whether you have a higher or lower vibration. And I don't like to look at it like that. Being like, we're all totally sensitive. So when we go into an environment, we can we can feel the environment, and we don't need to judge it as higher or lower. So we go into an environment and we feel exhausted, or we go into one and we feel energized. And I would just keep it in that rather than higher or lower vibration. It just, to me, doesn't sound like a positive mentality to have. It just seems like it's got too many ways of beating yourself up or beating others up. Whereas it just sounds more objective, like I feel anger now, or I feel a lot of energy now, or I feel low energy now. What you can recognize in situations is when your old patterns are being triggered. And all of us have that. I have that. Everybody has that. We are conditioned beings, and when we go into certain situations, we have a certain conditioned response. But when you begin to see that's not who you are, that the personality isn't who you are, and who you are is the alive presence, you can begin to examine the personality structure a bit impersonally, and you can look at it like a scientist, and you can realize like A plus A equals A plus B equals B. Yeah, I'm just being a bit silly. But you can just look at it in a more scientific way. So, you know, for example, if you go into a situation and you start not feeling so great, or your energy feel exhausted, you can just look at that and understand it. You can you look at that and you see what was triggered in you, and you can either see it to not be true, you can examine the feelings, and maybe you can examine potentially not encouraging that into your life so much. So if you go into a situation where you're with people that put you down a lot or speak very negatively, you can see the conditioning that arises in your body when that happens, that it hurts and it makes you not feel so good. And then you can see your attachment to that. Like, why am I putting myself in a situation that doesn't make me feel good? I don't have to do that. No matter how long my connection's been with them, I don't have to put myself in a situation where I don't feel good, where they put me down and I don't feel good. And you can examine your attachment to that, your story that goes with that. And see that none of that is you, that you are that alive presence, that who you are is the I am in which that appears. And it's not that getting to your end of your condition will get you to the I am. The I am's there, the alive presence is there regardless whether you like something or not like something. But balancing, I would really recommend balancing out the character and being aware of the character. This will give you a more happy, balanced life on the character level. Sometimes I feel like, and maybe I've encouraged that in the past, and I didn't mean to, but when you're looking at non-duality, it's like the total ignorance of the character. And you can see different things. So you can see the seeking patterns. So when you're identified with that pattern, you can see the seeking to get out of it, the desperate attempt to get out of it. So if you're in a group of people where they keep putting you down, maybe your seeking is that one day you hope they're going to recognize you. So you keep trying to present yourself as a perfect person and going against your natural flow. So you can recognize that seeking pattern, and you can recognize the fear that you have of them. So that you're always trying to make yourself feel safe. So you can recognize that and see the seeking pattern that goes into time, and see the agitation that comes with that, and that who you are is the presence, not that, and that you're never going to get presence from seeking in time, from them loving you, from them appreciating you. That love is your essence. So you can recognize that. And then you can also recognize the conditioning that's led you to that, like the times, you know, maybe when you were a child, your parents put you down a lot, so you're attracted to that situation. It makes you feel comfortable. So you can recognize that, and often in recognizing that, it actually just releases you from it. You then actively choose to not put yourself in a situation like that. Alarm goes off and you see, this actually brings me pain. I don't want this. I don't want to be in a situation where the joke is on me. So there's different things you can realize, and just don't don't look to this end point of I'm going to be liberated one day. You just keep examining the separate self and the seeking energy, and put your attention in the feelings and explore it and see what's going on. And then also the recognition that you are this presence in which that comes and goes in, and that presence is always still and always here, and that there isn't anybody looking out. There's conditions appearing. The condition of somebody that puts themselves in negative situations, or the condition of somebody puts themselves in positive situations, and that somebody isn't the experiencer, that somebody is the experienced, and that comes and goes. And when you die, you don't take that person with you. What you take is the presence. What's always here is the presence. And then on the human level, you just try to make yourself a more positive and balanced person. You understand and you recognize that this society was never about your happiness. This society was about making you an animal that produced for this society and for the growth of this society. So you're going to have conditioning that's not so balanced, and you recognize that, and you try to put yourself in more positive situations with more positive people that are for you and not about putting you down to make themselves feel better. But I would forget the whole vibration thing. Hi Daniel. Hi Klaus. Thanks for the talk today. I have just one question. How does the self remain in the self, like permanent enlightenment? It's something that happens as the seeking begins to break. So we have all these conditions. So we have this, say, condition to want to show we're good at being a dog owner. And that's a condition that arises in us. And when we were kids, we had dogs, and our parents always conditioned us in that way. So we have this conditioning. Then when we're totally identified with that person, we feel like we lost love, we feel like we lost home, and this is really unconscious. So therefore we always seek in our conditioning to find home. So say in that dog conditioning of wanting to come across as a good dog owner, we believe that one day we'll be recognized for that and we'll get home. And this is totally unconscious, but the energy is always trying to present itself as the best dog owner that's totally lovable. And it's seeing that that is just the conditioning of the body-mind mechanism, and that you don't find freedom in that. You find freedom in the presence. So it's not that you stay in presence, it's that the seeking and the attachment to the character begins to dissolve. And that seems to be something that happens in time. But then as that dissolves more and more, it's seen that there was never actually somebody in time, and that you were always really free. It just seemed like you were someone that's undoing itself. And sometimes that seeking might completely go and there's just freedom, and then there may be wisps of seeking that come back up, or pain that comes back up. So it's not about you actively staying in it, although you can practice that. There can be moments where you put the attention back into that I am presence. But it's something that will just happen, begin to happen. Hi Lisa, I seem to get stuck in relationships with other people. I seem to be seen by the other as being like them. For example, when I talk to you, I feel like I want you to see me as being free. When I talked to a friend a few minutes ago and she said she just got a new job, I started to think that maybe I am wrong in not doing the same. I know it is fear of being abandoned. I remember childhood situations when I have been threatened with that. I feel a lot of unpleasant feelings because of this, and I see that the tendency in the mind is to get rid of them, which makes it hard to enjoy life. Do you have any advice for the functioning of this body-mind? It's not so easy to just work from that question. It's much better if I can interact with you and work through it. So we have all these ideas and thoughts, and then we get confused by all of them as what's right or wrong, or what's going to make me happy, and the mind begins to get crazy because it keeps thinking about when it's going to get happy, how it's going to get happy, how it's going to do this. And on it goes. And what it's really looking for is that I am, and it just can't find it in a new job, in a new thought, in a new activity, in a new YouTube video, in a new da-da-da-da-da. And that presence is here, right here. The bum on the seat, the feet on the floor, the sounds from outside, the sound of my voice. So just find that still place and keep going back to that. You can understand the personality structure, so you understand that abandonment, understand that feeling, see it's not true, and then see you are that stillness in which all of that appears in. Lisa, does awareness take care of stored sensations in the body, or do we need to feel them in a way, like, say, crying, thank you? I don't know, that's too big a question to ask in such a short sentence. Ultimately, everything you're doing is exactly what's meant to be happening. Ultimately. But sometimes the attention needs to be redirected. So the most important part is the recognition that you aren't the personality structure. Who are you? You are that which always is. And there's a seeing of that. And then sometimes when the feelings are very strong and the emotions are really strong, they need to be worked on in order to release from the body, because there's too much of a seeking to avoid them or get away from them. And so that presence can't be heard, that presence gets covered. But I can't tell you whether you need to do that or not do that. Who looks out of your eyes now? Who hears the sound of my voice? Who feels the seat? This idea that you're having an experience is a lie. There's nobody having an experience now. There's an appearance of that character, but that's not the experiencer. Who is the experiencer? This is the freedom. Can you hear the people outside? Okay guys, that's enough for today. I've got work to do, so I'm going to leave you and get on with my work. Boo, boo, boo. Boo. Okay, thank you. Bye guys.